Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Java tutorial series. Throughout my tutorials I will teach you Java using just Notepad and the command prompt. The order in which my tutorials are organized on both my website at javacjava.com and my YouTube playlist is designed to maximize learning by building on concepts from prior tutorials. This tutorial is part 2 of the file class. I'm going to open up my web browser to my website, javacjava.com, select begin, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the file class part 2 here. Okay, in this tutorial I will demonstrate how to create folders, read a file from a web page into a local file, and copy one file to another. And we're just going to go ahead and get started here. It's just that, that's about all I'm covering here. So let's go ahead and scroll down here, highlight all this source code, Control-C to copy, or right-click and select copy. Let's move the browser off screen here. I've got a shortcut to the command prompt. I'm sure you do too now if you're doing part 2 of this here. So let's just go ahead and go all the way to cd /. Let's make a directory Java. I already have that folder. Change directories to Java folder. Let's make a directory here called file part 2. Okay, change directories to file part 2 and notepad file part 2.java. Alright, Control V to paste, or right click and select paste. Let's go ahead and save this here. I'm importing two packages, java.io and java.net, and this is just a single class. Now I do have two methods in here. I have the main method, of course, and then I have another method here that called copy file. Okay, let's go ahead and just go through this kind of line by line. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm creating a new file object, and f is the reference variable there, and it's going to be, of course, from part 1, file separator, so right off the root Java, and then basically /file part 2. All right, and what I'm going to do now is create 4 file objects here, F1, F2, F3, F4, will reference variable pointing to those 4 file objects, right? But that will be the same path as this base file, and my working directory will be basically, C:\Java /file part 2, right? And then each one of those will have a 1, a 2, 3, and a 4, right? And then I'm going to invoke the mkdir method on each one of those, which will make a directory here, right, on each one. So let's go ahead and just run that portion of it here, and let's clear our screen. Compile it, run it. Okay, you can see a whole bunch of stuff scroll by. We're just going to come up to the top here, right? All right, so actually what we're going to do is type in CLS. I'm going to type in dir, right, for directory. So you can see on this here, we've got, of course, our file part 2 Java and our compiled class file. And then also have these folders here, 4, 1, 3, and 2. Just put them in alphabetical order. But those are the 4 directories that we just created, right? So as you can see, that's how to make directory. That's how you can make a directory here. We're doing that. All right, so the next thing I'm going to demonstrate is the list method here. And the list method takes everything in, remember F is our base working directory here off of the file part 2, right? And so we can put it into a string array. Basically, that's what the list function returns. So then I'll display all the files and folders contained in. Let's go ahead and just run this guy again here. And let's scroll up to the top here. Right there. All right, so all the files and folders contained in C:\Java file part 2 directory, right? And that's just demonstrating the get absolute path again. And then just a simple enhanced for loop here. We're just looping through the array and doing the get absolute path plus, the value that's in there. So you can see we got file part 2.class, file part 2.java, and then 4, 1, 3, 2, right, which are directories. Okay. All right, so that just demonstrates the list method there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do here, I'm going to just display these dotted lines to the console here, obviously, is in part 1 I said I was going to demonstrate kind of the URI thing there, URL thing. So I'm going to demonstrate just basically using the URL class. The URL class, it's a pretty cool class. the method that I'm going to be using out of it is really, really simple there. And if you've been following all of my input-output stuff, tutorials here, it's going to make complete sense. You're going to go, oh, wow, that is so easy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the URL class does not inherit auto-closable, so we can't use the try with resources syntax, right? So I'm going to set URL, right? URL type. URL is the name of the class there, and just the reference variable is URL. I'm going to set that equal to null so we can access it outside of the scope of this try statement here, right? So inside of the try statement, I'm just going to set the URL equal to a new URL, and it takes a constructor with a simple string on what we want to retrieve back there. Okay, so let's go ahead and pop back over here to the web browser. So what I did is on my website at javacjava.com /states.txt, right? So I put up just a simple listing, simple text file listing of all the US states, all right? And that's just at javacjava.com /states.txt. All right, so let's go ahead and get that back off screen there. So the URL, that's what I got in there, right? And then basically it'll catch a malformed URL exception. You don't even have to worry about these catch statements here right at the moment. But that would only be if it had something strange going on with that there. So, okay, so now we're going to, now that we've got our URL, right, we are going to invoke the OpenStream method of our URL object or URL instance there. Now OpenStream returns back an input stream. How convenient, right? Because we've been watching all these, I've been creating all these tutorials based around input streams. So here's another example of an input stream that we can do. You know, I've done so far input streams on a local file, an input stream on system, the standard input, which is the keyboard, right? System.in. And now here's an input stream reader on a website page, right? So buffered reader, and I'm wrapping input stream reader and wrapping, of course, URL open stream. Well, passing that is basically the constructor there for an input stream. And then we're just simply looping through while the ready method for the buffered reader returns back true. It'll keep looping through anything in the input stream, right? And then we'll basically read the line. I'm going to display the line to the console, and then right after I display the line to the console, I'm going to create a new buffered writer, right? And it's going to be just doing a simple file writer, new file, and then of course F1, right? We know F1 is just our Java and then file part 2 folder there. And I'm going to create a file called states.txt. Okay. Oh, F1, I'm sorry, F1 is, folder 1 is underneath a 1 folder here, right? Okay. So, and then of course the true for the file writer just tells it to keep on appending that, all right? So then I'm going to go ahead and just write line, which is, first one of course is like Alabama. Let me go back to that here. Right, so it'll write Alabama, then Alaska, then Arizona, and it'll keep on looping through there, and then of course invoking the new line method too as well, right? Okay, so basically at this point in time, right, let's go ahead and change directory. So you can see it displayed all of the stuff to the console here as well, right? So that's just on the print line method right here while we're looping through that input stream. So let's go ahead and change directories to the 1 folder and do a directory here, right? And you can see here's states.txt, right? And let's go ahead and notepad up states.txt, right? And you can see there's what we got. We got all of our states, so that's all cool there. All right, let's go ahead and change directories down a folder, cd space ... And so basically that's how that all worked right there. All right, so pretty cool. So we just pulled down a file from the internet using an input stream. So we could do other stuff too as well, as far as that goes, but HTML files, all that stuff there. You get the point, but I just want to demonstrate that. So now I've written this, there isn't a copy method in the file class, so you have to write your own. And I've written just like a really basic one. I would not put this into production if you're looking at it there, because it doesn't have enough case scenario catches and checks and balances and everything like that. So, but I just wrote it to be fairly simple, static, so we can directly call it from our static main method, of course, right? Returns back a Boolean type, and the signature takes two parameters. First one is, both of them are type file objects, right? Instances. And then source and destination. So the first thing I'm checking for, if the source doesn't exist, we're just gonna basically return back false, right? And then the destination, I'm just gonna delete, right? I'm gonna delete it. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna, sorry to apologize for this here. I forgot one thing up here. This line right here, I kind of skipped over it. What I do is I delete states.txt. So if we run this program multiple times, it doesn't keep appending it in, you know, because otherwise this new file writer will basically keep appending that in. So just FYI up there. All right, sorry to lose that train of thought there, but anyway. So I'm just going to delete the destination file if it exists. Now the delete method, if it doesn't exist, doesn't throw any sort of exception or anything like that. It just moves on, whatever. So, but I would normally write like some sort of prompting routine. You know, would you like to delete, you know, file exists, would you like to delete it, so on and so forth there. We're just not going to get that in depth on this here, okay? So basically we're going to do exactly what we did up there. Buffered reader, right, new file reader, and then the source we're passing in as the parameter there. And then we are just simply looping through the entire source file, read line by line, and then write it out to a destination buffered writer, right? So our buffer reader reads a line, our buffer writer writes a line into the destination file. And of course, true keeps appending it there, okay? Basically after that, if the destination file doesn't exist, and technically that shouldn't happen because, you know, well, we might get a stack trace and whatnot there. We'll just, oh, you know what this should be? Destination exists, return true. Sorry about that. So, but I'm not even checking for it up here when I invoke it, so it doesn't really make much of a difference there. Just giving you guys an idea on what's going on. Otherwise, we'll basically return false on that. So, let's come up here, save this, and you know, I've already ran it here, but let's go ahead and just do a directory, right? So another DOS command is dir, and then /s will tell it to let's check everything in the subdirectories, right? If we put another /p there, it'll basically say show us everything, but do like a page break, right? So if I press enter on here, it'll show me everything that's in file part 2. And then file part 2 underneath our 4 folder here, we got a file called all50states.txt. You can see it's 526 bytes there, which is the same size as the original there. And just basically that /p tells us now to, you know, press any key to continue, and then the rest of the stuff will scroll by. So in 1 we have states.txt, in 3 we got 50states.txt, and in 2 we got usstates.txt. We can also type in like explorer dot, right? And that'll just bring up, you know, Windows File Explorer if you're used to the GUI here, and you can see all that stuff there. So 1, here's our states, right? And, you know, file part 2, here's 2, US states, and so on and so forth there. So you can see how that did that, and that basically is about that there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close out of that. Pretty much ends the file there with the copy file stuff there. Of course, this is fairly self-explanatory for the first parameter there, new file f1 states.txt, and then f2, which is our folder 2, right? Right up here, right? And then, you know, f3, f4, and passing over and changing the name here too. We could have kept the name the same, but I just figured, what the hey, let's just demonstrate something else, you know, to show you how that works there. So, all right, I am going to go ahead and close out of this and this. And I was thinking I was going to do more tutorials on the file class, but I'm decided against that. You know, that what I've covered right now pretty much demonstrates the most commonly used constructors and methods in the file class. So that will pretty much do it. Thanks for watching.